Hi there, this is DJ Delight, and today we're going to be putting together a air patch cable from airpatchcable.com. We've got a iPhone stereo kit. I've got pretty much everything I'm going to be using laid out here. You got everything from your kit, your iPhone plug, which is a TRRS connector, the little Velcro strap that comes with it. Got a piece of heat shrink tube. This is the little attenuator L-pad circuit board, which is really just the most important thing, and thanks to Pete for designing these. From there, you got your two cables that come with it. Got a 10-inch, I think this is 26 gauge, and you got that, and you've got your longer 28 gauge. From there, you got your 2/4 inch connections, your female and male. Also, I like to strip my wires with a X-Acto knife. You can use wire strippers if you'd like. I actually prefer to use an X-Acto knife. I usually just use this to crimp the connections with. Now from there, I like to have some tweezers to pull the wires through on this little circuit board, because it's pretty small and the wires are pretty thin and small that you're dealing with. Also, some little wire cutters here, which are good. You're going to need a soldering iron. I use a gas one. Electric ones are pretty good. Actually, they're almost a little bit better, as long as it's got a little fine tip, because you're dealing with some pretty small stuff here. And then some solder. From there, I also have these little helping hands, which help me hold my wires and my connectors to solder. If you don't have an extra set of hands, I suggest you pick up these. They're pretty cheap and really handy. So from there, we're going to strip our main cable here, and we'll show you how that's done. So here we are with the thicker cable. I'm going to strip about a 1/2 inch off of each end, one which is going to the male TRS connector and one which is going to the female TRS connector. So you got your shield here, your two inner conductors, and you're going to want to move the copper outer shield out of the way, and then strip these. So I kind of got a little ahead of myself. Told you to strip both of these. Just strip this one. You're going to want to try to plan it out a little bit. You got your L-pad circuit board here. This is where your shield's going to go. The next hole up is going to be the small red wire that you're going to get from the longer, thinner cable. Above that is I believe your thicker red cable, coming from the thicker cable here. And then the very top hole here is the clear / white part where you're going to go, but you want to measure it up, so when you put it down here, it kind of keeps the jacket over the circuit board, so the bare wire doesn't touch anything. Also, these small conductors have this real thin polyurethane, or not polyurethane, but some kind of little thread. I actually just use a torch to burn it away, because cutting it is a real pain. So just melt it away real easy like that. So before we move anywhere else, you're going to want to also strip this one, because you're going to take a little bit of the copper shield from the thick cable and a little bit from this and twist them together. Alright, so from here we got our two shields twisted together. The way the circuit board is going to work is the shield is going to go through the bottom, and this little red cable is going to attach on the bottom as well, and then the white or clear one here, sorry, is going to go all the way across the top So you're gonna have 2 wires on top and kind of 2 on the bottom. So if you could put it in between like that and picture it like that, that's kind of how it would be. So kind of separate your wires and keep your shield and the smaller red down on the bottom, and then the clear and the bigger red up on the top. So we're going to feed the shield through here, the copper shield, and then we're going to feed the clear one across the top, and we'll solder those in place. Also, this is a good time to slip on your heat shrink. You probably only need about a quarter, actually maybe less than a quarter than each, to fit it through this tiny hole. So we got that fitted through. We're going to run this one across to the top. Keep referring to your build guide with the pictures and make sure you read it over. I decided I'm actually going to solder the shield in place first. We got our 2 front wires soldered down. The clear white one, which goes to the very top here, that's your tip, and then your shield, and then the small red one we're going to solder right above the shield hole, which is the other outside wire. So we're going to heat shrink this to kind of cinch it down, and then we're going to solder this to the TRS connector to get it held down. So now that we got that, we're going to put this bad boy upside down in like that. The TRS connector comes bent from the factory right here on the ring, the outer ring prong. I straightened that out. That's a tip from Pete to give yourself a little bit more room with the circuit board. So we'll crimp it in there. We'll fit that through that hole, the tip hole, solder that in, and then work on the ground shield here and our ring. Go ahead and fit the bad boy in like that, and then we're going to crimp it down, solder up here. Nice and snug. Kind of jack my board around, but you're going to want to fit the tip up through there in that prong, and then solder that in. So we'll strip this final ring wire here, the thicker red one, feed it through the back, through that third top hole, and then through the ring prong here, and solder that in place. And finally here we're going to solder the ring lead here, and then the shield ground to the outer part of the sleeve. So we'll feed the plastic insulator on, and then the back shell, screw it on. good there. Strip this in. We're going to stick on the female 1/4 inch. Alright, so we have our 1/4 inch female. We're going to strip the other end like this. You're only going to need about half of the shield on this side as well. So split that and then cut one of the halves off. Strip both the conductors. The clear tip one, that's going to go to the smaller of the 2 prongs on here. So once you put that in and crimp it, you know, kind of judge the length. I always strip a little bit more than I need and then cut it to length. And then of course the red outer one is going to go to the longer outer prong here, which would be your ring. And then you're going to feed the copper shield underneath this little thing, this little hook, and solder all those in place. This is about how I have it cut. I'm going to twist that up. I'll strip these 2, and then as you can see when you lay it in here, I've got more length than I need. I'll trim it to length once I get it in here. Note to self, real important to put this on first. Put this on first, then the plastic insulator. So here I got it. I'm going to crimp this and pull those through with my little tweezers. Wrap that around underneath, trim it to length, solder in place. Got those in there like so. Hope you can see that. Solder those 2 in first. Then I'm fold that underneath, cut it to length, solder that. Hook that in, make it cozy, and solder it up. Good to go. Bring the plastic insulator up and the back sleeve or the back shell, and you're good to go on that end. Thus far, on to the very last step, putting on the iPhone TRRS connector. So we're now at the final step. We've got our TRRS connector. Got my other end of my smaller 28 gauge wire. That is stripped, kind of cut the length. And I'll lay that in there. Feed the shield to the bottom hole, and then crimp it down, and then we'll solder the red wire onto the little prong here. There was a red and a white conductor. We cut the white one because we didn't use that on the other end of the male connection, if you recall. Also, another thing I'm going to do that I haven't done on the other wires is I'm going to tin this with a little bit of solder before I place it on here so it'll stick easier. Nice solid ground there on that shield. That looked good. Then we'll get a little red tip/ring connection up here on. Solder that in place. See that? I hope it's on there nice. And that's it. Good to go. Bring it back, shell back up, screw it on. And that's how you make an air patch cable. If you have any questions, you can message me on the YouTube or send Pete an email. He's really good at returning emails. And also be sure to read through the directions and double check the build guide with the photos.